Passed down to you by Tepok, Lizardmen warrior of Coatl. An omen appeared above the jungle, bleeding fire across the evening sky, tearing a wound in reality. It is the twin-tailed comet, a sure sign that Sotek watches over us, and that Tepok is with us. The Coatls have awoken, flying low on swift wings to purge Lustria of Clan Pestilence forever. They are spirits of the old ones made manifest, and with those janky-ass animations, there's no way we can lose. Welcome back to the Sons and the Fury. I believe we will have 2 multiplayer battles up today. The first is Lizardmen and Skaven in the spine of Sotek. The second should be Norska versus some Troglodytes, provided everything works out. But in this battle, it's Children of the Old Ones and Children of the Horned Rat near the site of Thoric Ironbrow's famous quest battle. And I wanted to give Coatls a shot, obviously. They are one of the rarest creatures in Lustria, seen as an avatar of Tepok, the feathered serpent god. Tepok is an old one who represents protection against harmful magic, but today he'll be getting a tad bit more aggro than usual. Uranion's Thunderbolt, Chain Lightning, and the Master of the Sacred Places are the Snakebird's calling cards, alongside a decent stat line, magic resist, and maneuverability. And I have 2 of them. Spirit of Tepok is the Regiment of Renown version, with Shield of Thorns and Banishment instead, and together they should do some work, hopefully. For the front line, nothing too fancy. Just some Saurus and Skink cohort, 2 Pterodon riders flying overhead, very versatile units, and a Slann Mage Priest of the Lore of Life. Earthblood, Flesh to Stone, and Regrowth, with a bound Banishment Vortex for blowing up hordes of ratties. I mean, if you're bringing 2 Coatls, it's best to protect that investment. And doubling their armor value while healing them is a pretty good way to keep them alive and in the fight. 2 Chameleons, Vanguard deployed out front, provide a bit of skirmish power, and across the way march the armies of Samurai Warrior and the smelly hordes of Clan Pestilence. And they brought presents. Aww. It's Plague. Plague Claw Catapults, Plague Monk Zealots, Poison Wind Globadiers. They're just a walking war crime, honestly. The Geneva Suggestion in verminous form. And of course, the architect of these foul plans is a Warlock Engineer, Howling Warp Gale, and Warp Shard Armor, and Lord Scroll himself, fully kitted out. Interesting spell here, though. One of the coolest looking spells in the game, Plague, which only costs 9 winds of magic, somehow? It's incredibly cheap for a Vortex spell. See if he can make use of it. In the back, Clan Molder Rat Ogres and Ashen Triads, a unit we have not seen on this channel in many an age. Glaive Infantry with 15 bonus for Large, Concealment Bombs, and Weeping Blade to cut armor in half. So, if you pair those Rat Ogres and the Halberd Guando infantry together, yeah, they can kill monsters. They could be a serious issue for the Coatls if they land in the wrong spot, and you guys have probably already seen it anyway. They have some weird animations when they get stuck on the ground. We'll see if that plays out here as well. Plague Claw Catapults opening up now, and their disgusting diseased volleys will mess up Skink cohort. Pretty great way to get rid of infantry, but not much in the way of burst damage against the Coatls themselves. The Poison Wind Globadiers can do some to them. If you get a Howling Warp Gale and get some good volleys in, the DOT will definitely take effect, but I would say the Skaven army, besides the Rat Ogres and the Ashen Triads, might actually struggle a little bit to pin down those Coatls and burst them down, especially against a Lore of Life Slann. So what you can see I'm doing here is moving around using that Master of the Sacred Places aura to try to hide my stuff on the way in. There's a limit to that. I could probably have both over here, but I wanted to have the Spirit of Tepok down in the riverbed below, going for a flanking opportunity, maybe land on something that isn't well protected, but just bouncing in between all my units, hoping that whatever he's shooting at will turn invisible by the time he tries to pull the trigger. It's not working. I probably should have just had the Spirit of Tepok with the main army, could have protected the Slann Mage Priest and pretty much all the infantry. With the size of that aura, yeah, I could have probably kept most of my infantry invisible to that Plague Claw, but either way, went for a little play there, didn't find anything, was a waste of time, no biggie. Taking some damage on my Saurus, taking some damage on my Skink cohort, but infantry is not going to be what wins this battle. Now, this is a brilliant position for the Plague Vortex. You notice how he put it directly behind the unit, but still kind of half on it? So if I was to pull away and try to escape from the Vortex spell, I would still have to run through pretty much most of the duration. Now, watching it back, I definitely should have still run away. They're fighting Clan Rat summons. Wouldn't have been a big deal to turn my back to them and take a little bit of HP damage there. I would have still taken a lot of damage because of how well he positioned it, but I forgot how long the spell lasts. So I'm gonna sit in there, because I was like, most vortexes don't last that long. If I pull back, whatever. It did a lot of damage, man. He pretty much one-shot that Saurus unit because I decided not to retreat out of there. So, pretty good trade if you're Lord Skrulk and Clan Pestilence. You'll take that every single time. Nice banishment on the back line, though, hitting some Plague Monks and doing some damage to the Poisonwind Globadiers. Not disastrous for the Skaven by any means, but drop rocks on the Plague Claw Catapult in the rear. And the Coatl moving forward already. Lizardmen infantry being eviscerated by all this firepower. Poisonwind Globadiers are pretty solid versus infantry too. And in return, Chain Lightning going down on Plague Monks and Clan Rats as the Wolf Rats charge in from the rear. And that was a nasty Chain Lightning going down into melee, and the Coatl, that Feathered Serpent God, just swarming on top of the Vermintide, pushing through them and setting them flying everywhere. Look at that charge. That is some serious disruption on both sides. Hit some Lizardmen too. But Saurus down by the riverbed, charging into some Plague Monks. Should be interesting to see how that one plays out. Coatl charges in from the flank. Remember, the Plague Monks are not unbreakable, but it can't support right now because the Howling Warp Gale is down, and it is tied down. And I can't even tell if it's flying or if it's down on the ground. I think it's on the ground, which is one of the weird... It is on the ground. That's one of the weirdest things about this unit, is that it never actually lands and slithers like a snake. It always flies. So even when it's technically on the ground, it still looks like it's above ground. It's very strange. It makes it very difficult to know where the unit is. Gonna help me out a little bit there in terms of the banishment because they're fully surrounding him, but somehow that Vortex did not do a lot of damage, and this Coatl is caught out in a relatively precarious position at the moment. Rat Ogres, Ashen Triads, and Clan Rats swarming on top of him. Meanwhile, Pterodon Riders swooping in from the rear. They did deal with that Plague Claw Catapult, now munching on the Poisonwind Globadiers. But the Lizardmen infantry is in tatters. Red Crested Skinks, one of the last bastions for the children of the old ones on that front. They are holding back the Plague Monks for now, but that'll set up a beautiful Uranus Thunderbolt, Shazam, right into the middle of those Plague Monks and destroying huge sections of their army there. Look at that damage. That was crazy good value from that spell, but the Coatl's down to half HP and looking like it might drop soon. Needs help from that Spirit of Tepok, and more importantly, needs help from Earthblood, Regrowth, and whatever spells from the Life Salon can go its way. Regrowth is going to keep it in the fight, and it manages to escape. Rat Ogres realizing they aren't going to be able to burst it down through that HP heal, and the Chameleon Skinks were nearby too, so they would have zoned out those Rat Ogres, probably killed them off. Instead, they're going to go for the infantry, finish off the rest of that. So at the moment, Thagoraki seem to have a commanding position in terms of the size of their army anyway. Chameleons and a few Skinks in the background. Pterodons dropping rocks on the big blob, getting some good value out of that one. But Coatls are going to have to put the team on their back, though. Spirit of Tepok, scooting and shooting past some of these Poisonwind Globadiers, finishing them off down by the riverbed. Skink cohort run down by the Wolf Rats, and Skaven have done a great job of systematically eliminating all of the Lizardmen infantry. And units like these flying units that maybe don't have a massive amount of HP, well, they can struggle a little bit in fights like this where they're forced to go down and stick in melee with hordes of infantry, and monstrous infantry is the real big problem. The Rat Ogres are probably the biggest issue on the field right now besides Skrulk himself. Shield of the Old Ones going down. Pterodon Riders have exhausted most of their ammunition. They are firing into the monstrous infantry. That's how you want to use their javelins. Those Rat Ogres are the most important target for sure. Rod of Corruption from Lord Skrulk. Coatl going down. Spirit of Tepok will probably land soon as well. And that is another Uranus Thunderbolt raining down from the heavens. Did nothing. Somehow did nothing. But Terror Routes are setting in for the Skaven. Rat Ogres diving into the rear. Shield of Thorns. More physical damage. More physical resistance for both of those Coatls. They're fighting back to back at the moment, causing all kinds of morale problems for the Raki. Pterodon Riders out of ammunition now. They will probably go in for a rear charge very soon here. Spirit of Tepok caught out, surrounded. Liber Roboticus going down on him, shooting lasers out of its beak. And the birds are getting angry. They're teaching the Ratmen a lesson that they shall not soon forget. spitting lasers and lightning out their eyes and thunderbolts from their cloacas. Shield of Thorns bounce spell keeping both those Coatls tanky and survivable, alongside the healing from the Mage Priest. Pterodon swooping in from the rear like some sort of divine punishment, feasting upon Ratmen and setting up a gorgeous banishment. Look at that kill count skyrocket. Oh my lord. That was close to 100 kills. Still rising, and massive morale issues now setting in for the Skaven. With that said though, Lord Skrulk is relatively untouched. He's getting tossed around, but he's pretty healthy at the moment. He's still got Rat Ogre support. He's still got Wolf Rat support. The Warlock Engineer still around. And all that infantry will return. There are not enough Lizardmen units to chase all this stuff down. Power of the Slann Mage Priest on full display at the moment. That blue Coatl, he was at half HP and might have died. But Regrowth has gotten him all the way back up to full, and he's up over 130 kills. And now we get to see their dueling prowess. Can they deal with monstrous infantry, a Warlock Engineer, Skrulk, and all the Raki that are about to come back? And more Vermintide summons will also be on the way too. Gotta remember that. They just beat the crap out of that Warlock Engineer. He was full HP a couple seconds ago. I think they just got really lucky on the attacks there. Warlock Engineers don't have amazing melee defense, but Coatls don't have amazing melee attack either. It's not bad. It's up near 50 for Spirit of Tepok, but Ashen Triads charging in now. Rat Ogres charging in, rallying to their lord. More Ashen Triads and Plague Monks coming up the hill, but the Terror Routes, every time they get close, they just cannot seem to stay in combat. Slann Mage Priest dropping low though. Liber Bonicus from Lord Skrulk down on him. That does so much damage. And now Rod of Corruption too. Nuking everything in an AoE. Slann Mage Priest might die here. Here come the Wolf Rats. A pin down on the Mage Priest or the Coatls while Skrulk beats on him. Could be enough to cause some kind of chain route for the Children of the Old Ones. It's getting tense. We got a barn burner on our hands, folks. Coming in from the rear. Nice charge from those Wolf Rats. Good thing they're not the AP version. That could have been very bad. Remember, these Coatls do have high magical resistance, so you do not want to be sending magic damage their way. Spirit Leeching them is really just not worth it. Roboticusing them is not really worth it either. That's why I did it on the Slann Mage Priest. Vermintide Summon will wake up in the bellies of these feathered serpents. The Spirit of Tepok down to 1/3 health. But the other Coatl is full HP after all of these regrowths and Earthbloods. Saurus surging forward. Now on top of the Warlock Engineer. And he's dead. I mean, he might not die, but he's going to run. The Warp Shard armor is great, but there's just not enough infantry for that to actually matter. And even if the Saurus go down here, it's just kind of not a huge deal. They're blocking up the charge of the Rat Ogres. Coatl swooping down and destroying that entire section of the Skaven army. And that might be the death knell for the Raki here. 13 bells, they toll for thee, and a mass rout imminent for the Skaven. Slann Mage Priest, Coatl, and Spirit of Tepok, the only things that remain besides some severely beaten up Saurus warriors. But Lord Skrulk is an island unto himself, and it will be the end for him. Shield of the Old Ones goes down. The Toilet Slann drops the hammer, and Skrulk Daddy is gone. But not forgotten. 107 kills on that Slann Mage Priest, but it wasn't about the killing, it was about the healing. And the impact he had on that battle with his Flesh to Stone, that plus 60 armor. I mean, you see Skrulk got 2,300 damage value, but his heals on both those Coatls kept them in the fight, and the fact that they could support each other with their own bounce spells is really cool because they kind of set up and alley-oop a lot of their own vortexes and bombardments. So, Spirit of Tepok goes down, you drop Shield of Thorns to give him some more physical resistance, to resist all the damage coming in, and then things blob up around him to try to tie him down because he's a flyer, and if you can kill him off, you're in great shape. But then Chain Lightnings and Banishments and Uranus Thunderbolts rain down, and you saw a lot of the time when the Skaven got that full surround off and thought, hey, I'm about to kill off a really important unit, they just got blown up by big spells. So that support there, that synergy was real nice. I mean, we saw some great damage value out of the Skaven, and they did a good job trying to surround them, but being able to cover each other with those feathered sky serpents is pretty fun. I don't know that they're going to be like a top tier choice for the Lizardmen. I think there are other dinos that do their job better, but they're a pretty cool unit, barring some of the jank with not knowing when they're flying or when they're on the ground. They could use maybe a slithering animation that kind of shows that they're actually on the ground, but besides that, very cool stuff. I love the bounce spells, and they're really fun to use. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.